My fiance's sister used to lock me in the dark shed behind their house when I was 12 just to hear me scream. That was 9 years ago, before I grew into my skin, before I learned how to hold a room without trembling. Her name is Miranda, and she's 2 years older than me. Back then, she was the undisputed queen of our small town's cruelest crowd, the kind of girl who smiled while she twisted the knife. And now, somehow, she's engaged to my older brother, Derek. Let me start at the beginning, because the beginning is the only place that makes any sense of this. I grew up in a town called Harrow Creek, a place so small that everyone knew everyone else's business before breakfast. My family moved there when I was 10, after my dad got a transfer. I was a new girl with the wrong clothes, the wrong glasses, and the wrong way of speaking. I stuttered when I got nervous, which was all the time, and I had a habit of reading books during lunch instead of socializing. In other words, I was a walking target. Miranda Hawthorne was a year ahead of me in school, but she might as well have been from another planet. She was tall, blonde, athletic, and had a laugh that could fill a hallway. People gravitated toward her like moths to a flame, not realizing that flame would burn them if they got too close. I learned that lesson fast. The first time she noticed me, I was standing by my locker, trying to remember the combination through a fog of first-day anxiety. She walked by with two of her friends, girls who looked like carbon copies of her, all glossy hair and matching sneers, and she stopped, just stopped, and looked at me the way you'd look at a bug you found in your salad. "New girl," she said, not a question. "You're in my English class, right?" I nodded, my heart already hammering. She smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. "Good luck. You're going to need it." I didn't understand what she meant until the next day, when I walked into class and found that someone had written "freak" in big red letters on my desk. Miranda was sitting 3 rows back, watching me with that same smile. She didn't laugh out loud. She didn't have to. Her silence was louder than any scream. That was the pattern for the next 3 years. Miranda never hit me. She was too smart for that. She never said anything that could be easily reported to a teacher. Instead, she specialized in a kind of psychological warfare that left me questioning my own sanity. My notebooks would go missing, and then reappear with pages torn out. My gym clothes would end up in the boys' locker room. I'd find notes in my backpack written in her handwriting, saying things like, "No one likes you," and "Why don't you just leave?" The worst incident happened during the spring carnival of my freshman year. There was a bouncy castle, the kind that looks like a giant rainbow-colored moon. All the kids were jumping inside, laughing, having the time of their lives. I was standing at the edge, working up the courage to join in, when Miranda appeared behind me. She didn't say a word. She just shoved me, hard, into the side of the bouncy castle. I bounced off the inflatable wall and landed face first in the mud. The bouncy castle wobbled, and a few kids inside laughed, thinking it was part of the game. But Miranda's friends knew. They pointed and giggled while I lay there, my new white shirt now brown, mud dripping from my glasses. I remember looking up and seeing Miranda standing over me, her arms crossed, her expression one of pure, unbothered amusement. "Oops," she said. Then she walked away. That night, I cried in my room for 2 hours. My mother came in and held me, but what could she do? There was no proof. It was my word against Miranda's, and Miranda had the entire town convinced she was a sweetheart. High school ended, and I couldn't get out of Harrow Creek fast enough. I went to college 3 states away, changed my look, changed my name socially to just Jenna instead of Jenny, which was what everyone called me back home, and I rebuilt myself from the ground up. I went to therapy. I learned to breathe through the memories. I met a man named Sam, kind, steady, patient Sam, and we fell in love. We got married 2 years ago, and last spring we had a baby girl named Lily. For the first time in my life, I felt whole. I kept in touch with my family. Of course, my parents are good people. And my brother Derek? Derek is 4 years older than me. He was already away at college when Miranda started her campaign against me. He knew I'd been bullied. He'd seen me cry enough times, but he never knew the name of the girl behind it. I never told him. I was too ashamed, too afraid he'd think I was weak. So when Derek called me last fall and said, "I've met someone, Jenna. She's amazing," I'm going to marry her. I was genuinely happy for him. Derek had been through a rough divorce 2 years prior, and he deserved some joy. What's her name? I asked. Miranda, he said. Miranda Hawthorne. The phone nearly slipped out of my hand. For a second, I thought I'd heard wrong. What did you say? Miranda Hawthorne, he repeated. She's from Harrow Creek, actually. Same town we grew up in. Isn't that wild? You might have known her in school. I couldn't breathe. Derek, I said slowly, Miranda Hawthorne was my bully. She made my life a living hell. There was a long silence on the other end. Then, no way. Miranda is the sweetest person I've ever met. She volunteers at animal shelters. She sends cards to my grandmother. There's no way she's the same girl. She is, I said. I promise you she is. He didn't believe me. Or maybe he didn't want to believe me. He said he'd talk to her, and he did, because the next day Miranda called me herself. Her voice was soft, almost tearful. Jenna, she said, I am so sorry. I was a terrible teenager. I was insecure and mean, and I took it out on you. I've changed. I've been in therapy. I'm not that person anymore. I wanted to hang up. Every instinct told me to hang up. But I heard the hope in Derek's voice when he talked about her, and I love my brother. So I said, okay, let's try to move forward. That was my first mistake. Over the next few months, Miranda played the role of the reformed bully perfectly. She sent me flowers on my birthday. She asked about Lily. She told Derek how excited she was to be my sister-in-law. My parents, who remember the stories I'd told them back in high school, were wary at first, but Miranda charmed them, too. She baked them cookies. She helped my dad in the garden. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, she began to weave herself into the fabric of our family. Then came the engagement. Derek proposed on Christmas Eve in front of a roaring fire at our parents' house. Miranda cried happy tears. Everyone clapped, and then she pulled me aside and asked me to be her maid of honor. I was stunned. Why me? I asked. Because you're going to be my sister, she said, her eyes wide and earnest. And I want to show you and everyone that I've changed. This is my chance to make things right. I said yes. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted to believe in redemption. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that I was stronger than my past. Maybe I was just a fool. The wedding was set for late June at a vineyard about an hour from Harrow Creek. Miranda wanted it to be lavish. String lights, a live band, a 5-tier cake. The works. Derek, who worked as an architect, was footing the bill. Miranda's family didn't have much, and Miranda herself had been between jobs for almost a year. Red flags, I know. But Derek was in love, and love has a way of sanding down the sharp edges of reality. As maid of honor, I was expected to plan the bachelorette party. Miranda made it clear from the start that she wanted something unforgettable. Not a weekend at a cabin. Not a spa day. She wanted a trip to Europe. Specifically, a week in Santorini, Greece, staying in a 5-star hotel with caldera views. I laughed when she first suggested it. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. You can afford it, she said, her tone sweet but her eyes hard. You and Sam have that big house, and you're always posting about your vacations. Come on, Jenna. It's my last trip as a single woman. I should have said no. Instead, I said, I'll see what I can do. There were 3 other bridesmaids, Miranda's cousin Paige, a girl from her gym named Kelsey, and an old friend from high school named Brittany, one of the same girls who used to stand behind Miranda while she tormented me. Brittany pretended not to remember any of it. I pretended to believe her. I booked the flights, the hotel, a private catamaran cruise, and a wine-tasting tour. The total came to just over $18,000. I put it on my credit card because Miranda assured me that everyone would pay me back within 2 weeks. Don't worry, she said, patting my arm. We're all adults here. The 2 weeks came and went. No one paid me anything. I sent a polite message in the bridesmaid group chat. Hey, ladies, just a reminder that the trip payments are due. Let me know if you need the breakdown again. Paige responded with a crying, laughing emoji and said, Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'll send it soon. Kelsey said, My car broke down, so I'm a little tight this month. Can I pay you after the trip? Brittany didn't respond at all. And Miranda? Miranda sent me a private message. You're being really pushy. I told you I'd pay you back. Relax. A month passed. Then 2. The trip was 6 weeks away. I had paid the balance on everything, and my credit card bill was looming like a storm cloud. I started to feel that old familiar twist in my stomach, the same feeling I used to get in high school when I saw Miranda coming down the hallway. So I decided to confront her directly. I called her one evening while Lily was asleep and Sam was working late. I kept my voice calm. Miranda, I need the money for the trip. All of it. The others haven't paid either, and I can't carry this anymore. She sighed like I had asked her to solve world hunger. Jenna, you know I'm planning a wedding. I don't have $18,000 just sitting around. Then why did you ask for a trip that cost $18,000? Because I thought you'd help me, she said, and her voice changed. The sweetness was gone. In its place was something cold and familiar. You're my maid of honor. This is what maid of honors do. They take care of the bride. No, I said, they plan parties. They don't pay for them entirely. You have the money, she said flatly. You're just being selfish. I hung up before I said something I'd regret. But the damage was done. An hour later, I got a text from Derek. What's this about you yelling at Miranda? I explained the situation. He said, can't you just cover it? It's her dream trip. I'll pay you back after the wedding. No, I said, you won't, and neither will she. He called me difficult. He said I was holding on to the past. He said I was trying to sabotage his happiness. I cried that night, not because I was sad, but because I was angry at myself for trusting her, at Derek for being blind, at the whole stupid cycle that kept repeating no matter how far I ran. The next morning, Miranda sent a message to the group chat. She wrote, after some thought, I've decided that Jenna is no longer my maid of honor. Her negativity is bringing me down. Paige will take her place. The trip is still on, and I expect everyone to be there. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I opened my travel app and canceled every single booking. Flights, hotel, catamaran, wine tour, everything. I got back about half of what I'd paid, thanks to cancellation fees, but I didn't care. I wasn't going to fund a vacation for people who saw me as an ATM. I posted one final message in the chat. Since I'm no longer in the wedding party, I've canceled all the reservations. You'll need to rebook if you still want to go. Then I left the chat. The explosion was immediate. Miranda called me 17 times in 20 minutes. I didn't answer. She left voicemails that started with, "How dare you?" and escalated to things I won't repeat here. Derek showed up at my house an hour later, his face red, his hands shaking. "You ruined everything," he said. She's in tears. The wedding is in a month. What is wrong with you? I let him yell. Then I said, Derek, I love you, but I am not going to be bullied by your fiancée. Not again. If you want to marry her, that's your choice. But I'm done pretending she's a good person. He left. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 3 days later, Miranda posted a long, rambling status on social media. She didn't name me directly, but everyone knew. She wrote about toxic family members who can't let go of the past, and jealous sisters-in-law who try to ruin weddings out of spite. She painted herself as a victim, the poor bride whose dreams have been shattered by a bitter woman holding a grudge. The comments were brutal. People I hadn't spoken to in years weighed in, calling me horrible names. Some of them were friends of Miranda's. Some of them were strangers. A few were even relatives who didn't know the full story. That's when I decided to fight back. I sat down at my computer and wrote a post of my own. I didn't hold back. I described every incident from high school, the locker, the bouncy castle, the notes, the whispers, the years of feeling like I was drowning. I attached screenshots of Miranda's messages demanding I pay for the trip, her voicemails calling me selfish, and the final message where she kicked me out of the wedding party. I ended with this. I am not the same scared girl I was at 12. I am a wife, a mother, and a human being who deserves to be treated with respect. Miranda, you haven't changed. You've just gotten better at hiding, and I'm done hiding for you. The post went viral within our community. People shared it, commented on it. The tide turned fast. Former classmates of mine, people who had stayed silent back then, started coming forward with their own stories about Miranda, the girl who had stolen their boyfriends, the girl who had spread rumors that got a teacher fired, the girl who had laughed when someone's house burned down. My parents called me and said they were proud of me. They also said they were pulling their financial support from the wedding. We can, in good conscience, pay for a celebration of that woman, my mother said. Derek called me one last time. He didn't yell. He sounded exhausted. Did you have to do that? He asked. Did you have to destroy her? I didn't destroy her, I said. I just told the truth. What she does with it is up to her. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, she's been lying to me about a lot of things. Her job, her past, even her age, for God's sake. I didn't say, I told you so. I didn't have to. The wedding was called off exactly 1 week before the date. Derek moved out of the apartment they'd shared and back into our parents' house. Miranda, from what I've heard, left town. No one knows where she went. No one really cares. As for me, I'm sitting on my porch right now, watching Lily play in the sprinkler. Sam is grilling chicken for dinner. The sun is setting over the trees, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can finally breathe. I don't know if Derek will ever fully forgive me. I don't know if I'll ever fully heal. But I do know this. I am no one's punching bag. Not anymore. And if standing up for myself means losing people who were never really on my side to begin with, then I'm okay with that. Sometimes the hardest person to save is the one you used to be. But I looked that girl in the mirror and I told her, we're done running.